Hey everyone, welcome to our deep dive today. I'm really excited about this one. I've been thinking a lot about samurai wisdom and how it could apply to us, in the modern world.
Oh, yeah.
Especially those ideas in the Hagakure about death and loyalty and action and simplicity.
Yeah, it's fascinating how those themes they keep popping up across centuries.
Right.
It's like we're all still wrestling with these really basic human questions, just like those samurai were when their whole world was changing.
Exactly. So to get into all of this, we're diving deep into the Hagakure, this collection of sayings by the samurai Yamamoto Tsunetomo.
Hmm.
It was actually compiled by his student. And it's kind of a window into 18th century Japan. Imagine, peace after generations of warfare.
Right.
So these samurai, they're grappling with what's our purpose now that our battlefield skills aren't, so central to society.
Right.
And the Hagakure becomes this guide for them.
It's not just some dusty old history book, though, is it? I mean, the Hagakure has been praised as this beautiful expression of Japanese aesthetics, but also criticized as being this potentially dangerous tool for militaristic propaganda.
It's so intriguing. Okay, so we got to start with maybe the most intense idea in the Hagakure, this concept of accepting death.
Yeah, right off the bat, the author, Chicho, he says samurai should live as if they're already dead.
Wow, that's pretty stark.
Yeah,
To be honest, it sounds a bit morbid.
yeah.
Like, how are you supposed to really live your life if you're always thinking about dying?
That's where I think the nuance comes in. It's not about this morbid obsession with death. Kicho is suggesting that if you can really accept your own mortality, it frees you from fear, the fear that holds you back in life.
It's less about being gloomy and more about realizing that each moment is precious because, well, none of us are getting out of this alive, right?
Precisely. Think about it. If you're not constantly scared of failure or the unknown,
Yeah,
you might be more willing to take risks
right.
or pursue your passions or just speak your truth.
That's such an interesting way to look at it. It's like that fear of death becomes this like background hum
Yeah.
that keeps us playing it safe. And accepting death could actually be the key to unlocking a more courageous life.
It's a radical idea, but powerful.
Definitely. No, another cornerstone of the Hagakure, loyalty. The book is filled with stories of samurai going to extreme lengths to stay loyal to their lord.
Right. And it wasn't just some abstract concept back then, was it?
No, not at all.
In feudal Japan, your lord literally had control over your whole life, your livelihood,
Everything.
your family's safety, your social standing. It all depended on your lord's favor.
Absolutely. So in that context, this unwavering loyalty makes total sense. But it also makes for some pretty intense stories, like that one where the samurai sacrifices his spot in this elite guard unit
Right.
because he felt like his adopted father didn't value him enough.
That story, it's really interesting. It shows how complex, even within the samurai code, this idea of loyalty was. The Hagakure stresses devotion to your lord, but human relationships are never that simple, right?
Never.
You have family ties, personal bonds, and these conflicting obligations.
It makes you wonder, how do we even define loyalty today? Our jobs change, friendships evolve, family dynamics shift. There isn't always that one clear figure to be loyal to anymore.
That's the challenge, isn't it? Figuring out where those loyalties lie. I think maybe the lesson from the Hagakure is to recognize the nuances of loyalty
Yeah.
in our modern world. Like, who or what do we owe our deepest allegiance to? Is it a company, a cause, a set of values?
It's definitely something for all of us to think about. All right, let's dive into another idea from the Hagakure, the emphasis on action over overthinking.
Right. On the surface, the Hagakure might seem contradictory. I mean, it stresses careful planning and strategy
Right.
in some passages, but then it urges decisive action without hesitation in others.
So where is it? Plan meticulously or just jump in? It's confusing.
The key, I think, is understanding the context. Samurai trained rigorously, they honed their skills in their minds.
Right.
That's the preparation. But when it came to act, they couldn't hesitate.
They had to trust their instincts and just move forward.
Yeah, even if it meant maybe making a mistake.
So it's recognizing that sometimes that analysis paralysis, it could be just as dangerous as being reckless.
For sure.
You just can't plan for every eventuality.
Right. And I think that's especially relevant for us in the digital age.
Absolutely.
We have access to so much information and choices that it's easy to get stuck in that overthinking mode.
I know. It's like we're constantly researching the best option, comparing features, reading endless reviews. But sometimes the best decision is just the one you actually make,
Yes.
not the one you endlessly deliberate over.
The Hapicure reminds us that action, even imperfect action, often leads to more progress than just endless contemplation. It's about trusting your judgment,
Right.
learning from your experiences, and moving forward.
I love that. All right, let's move on to the last concept we're going to unpack from the Hagakure today. This idea of disciplined simplicity.
Okay.
And this is where things get interesting because, the Hagakure has this very specific take on material possessions.
Yeah.
It's not about rejecting them completely, but more about a deeper understanding of their role in your life.
There's the story where the author actually criticizes a samurai for being too focused on appearing humble and refusing gifts.
Really.
He argues that true generosity comes from the heart, not from outward displays of poverty.
So it's not about how much stuff you have or don't have.
Right.
It's about your inner attitude towards those things.
Yeah, remember the samurai, they lived in this world of constant uncertainty. I mean, they could lose everything in an instant. So they learned to cultivate a strength that wasn't dependent on, like, external possessions or status.
And in our modern world where we're constantly bombarded with messages to buy more and achieve more and have more,
Yeah,
maybe the samurai idea of disciplined simplicity is more relevant than ever.
for sure. It's about recognizing that true fulfillment comes from within,
Mm,
from cultivating virtues like resilience and gratitude and contentment,
right.
attaching from those external markers of success, and finding peace in who you are, not what you own.
It's a powerful message, and I think we've only just scratched the surface.
Yeah,
So in the next part of our deep dive, we'll delve deeper into these concepts from the Hagakure and explore some real-world samurai stories that illustrate these ideas in action.
I'm looking forward to it.
Stay tuned. We've been exploring some pretty profound ideas from the Hagakure: accepting death, understanding loyalty, choosing action, and finding strength in simplicity.
Yeah.
But how did these principles actually play out in the lives of the samurai?
That's where the real life stories come in. The Hagakure is full of anecdotes that show how these ideals weren't just abstract concepts, but actual guidelines for how to navigate these complex situations.
Yeah, let's go back to that idea of loyalty.
Okay.
We talked about how a samurai's loyalty to his lord was like everything in feudal Japan.
Yeah, it was paramount.
But the Hagakure also acknowledges, how complex human relationships are
Right.
and the dilemmas that they can create.
Absolutely. And there's this fascinating story that illustrates this tension perfectly.
Oh, yeah.
It involves two samurais who find themselves facing each other on this narrow bridge, neither willing to back down.
I remember this one. Isn't there a radish seller involved?
Yes, just as these samurai are about to draw their swords, this humble radish seller steps in,
Okay.
and he just calmly picks them both up with his shoulder pole and moves them to opposite sides of the bridge.
Wow, that's such a vivid image. But what's the lesson here? I thought the Hagakure was all about, facing challenges head on and upholding samurai honor.
It's about understanding the context. Jicho isn't saying samurai should always avoid confrontation.
Okay.
He's highlighting the importance of being adaptable
Right.
and recognizing that there are different paths to achieving your goals.
So it's about choosing your battles wisely.
It
Sometimes a peaceful solution, even one that might seem unconventional, is the most effective.
And maybe there's even a deeper message about humility.
Okay.
I mean, these samurai, with their emphasis on honor and martial prowess, they might see the radish seller's solution as beneath them.
Right.
But the Hagakure suggests that true strength lies in recognizing that wisdom can come from these unexpected places.
That's a great point. It reminds me of that saying, pride comes before the fall. Sometimes letting go of our ego and just being open to different approaches can lead to a better outcome.
Exactly.
Now let's shift gears and revisit that idea of decisive action.
Okay.
That samurai, aversion to overthinking.
Right.
We talk about how the Hagakure encourages both meticulous preparation and bold action.
Yeah.
How do those two seemingly contradictory ideas coexist?
I think it's a tricky balance. On one hand, you want to think things through, plan carefully, but on the other, you don't want to get stuck in that analysis paralysis.
Right.
Think of it like this. Samurai trained relentlessly. They honed their skills.
Right.
They mastered their weapons. They studied strategy. That's the preparation. But when the time came to act, they had to trust their training and move decisively.
So it's not about being impulsive.
No.
It's about having the confidence to act on your knowledge and your instincts.
Exactly. And this is so relevant for us today, right? I mean,
Well, absolutely.
we live in a world where we're bombarded with information.
So much information.
With endless choices and opinions.
Yeah.
It's so easy to get overwhelmed and struggle to make decisions.
I know. I've definitely fallen into that trap. Spending hours researching, comparing,
Right.
trying to find the perfect solution.
Yeah.
But sometimes just taking action, even if it's not the absolute best choice, is better than just staying stuck.
The Hagakure reminds us that there's value in taking action,
Right.
in learning by doing and in accepting that we won't always get it right.
It's progress over perfection.
Exactly.
I love that. It's such a refreshing perspective in a world that often feels obsessed with, achieving some unattainable ideal.
Right, yeah.
Now, let's talk about that final concept from the Hagakure, disciplined simplicity.
Okay.
We've touched on how it's not just about rejecting material possessions,
Yeah.
but about a deeper understanding of our relationship with them.
There's this story in the Hagakure that I think illustrates this beautifully.
Oh, yeah.
Getchi describes this samurai who's known for his frugality and his, refusal to accept gifts.
Okay.
But Jitachi actually criticizes the samurai,
Really?
arguing that true generosity comes from the heart, not from these outward displays of poverty.
So it's not about denying yourself material comforts
No.
or trying to appear virtuous.
Right.
It's about cultivating this inner state of detachment from those things.
Precisely. The samurai facing this constant uncertainty, they had to learn to find strength and contentment within themselves, not in their possessions.
Hmm.
They understood that true wealth lies in character, in resilience,
Yeah.
and in gratitude for what you have.
That's such a powerful lesson for us in a society that often equates happiness with, material success.
Absolutely.
So we've explored these 4 core principles from the Hagakure: accepting death, understanding loyalty, acting decisively, and embracing simplicity.
Yeah.
We've seen how they played out in the lives of the samurai and how they offer this, timeless wisdom
Right.
that we can apply to our modern challenges.
But there's one more fascinating aspect of the Hagakure we haven't touched on yet.
Okay?
Its influence on leadership. I mean, this book wasn't just a guide for personal development, it was also a manual for those in positions of power.
Ooh, I'm curious to explore that further.
Yeah, in the next part of our deep dive, we'll delve into the Hagakure's leadership lessons
Okay.
and see how those samurai principles can inspire us to lead with integrity and courage and wisdom in today's complex world.
So we've covered some pretty deep ideas from the Hagakure,
Yeah.
exploring those core samurai principles.
Mm-hmm.
Accepting death, navigating loyalty, taking action, and finding strength and simplicity.
Right.
But I know what you're thinking.
What's that?
How does any of this apply to leading in today's world?
Right.
It's not like we're running feudal domains.
Exactly.
We're facing off with swords.
Yeah, you're probably thinking, okay, cool samurai stories.
Right.
But I'm managing a team, not a band of warriors.
Exactly.
What's the practical takeaway here?
Right.
And surprisingly, the Hagakure actually has a lot to say about leadership,
Really?
even in our modern context.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Let's unpack those leadership lessons.
All right.
What can a 21st century leader glean from this ancient samurai text?
One of the most prominent themes in the Hagakure, and I think this is something that transcends time and culture, is the importance of leading by example.
It's that classic walk the walk idea.
Right.
Not just talking about values or setting expectations,
Yeah,
but actually embodying them in your own actions.
exactly. And there are some pretty vivid stories in the book that illustrate this.
Oh, yeah.
There's one about a samurai who's ordered to execute a group of criminals as a way to, practice his swordsmanship.
Wow.
It's a brutal scene, for sure.
Yeah.
But the author, Jetchi, he praises the samurai for carrying out his duty,
Okay.
even when it's unpleasant.
So he's saying a true leader doesn't shy away from the difficult tasks.
Right.
They do what needs to be done,
Mm-hmm.
even if it's not glamorous or comfortable.
About setting the standard, showing your team that you're willing to, roll up your sleeves and get your hands dirty right alongside them and face the tough calls head on.
Right.
That kind of leadership earns respect and builds trust.
So how does this translate to a more, let's say, humane workplace?
Sure.
I'm assuming we're not advocating for any literal executions here.
Right, of course not.
Okay, good.
But think about it this way.
Okay.
Those moments when you as a leader have to, deliver difficult feedback or make a tough decision that might be unpopular
Yeah.
or take on those tasks that nobody else wants to do.
Right, right.
Those are the times when leading by example really matters.
Yeah.
Are you willing to have those hard conversations? Are you ready to step up and do what's necessary, even if it's not easy?
Because if you're not, your team will see right through it.
Exactly.
They'll sense that you're not fully committed
Right.
or invested, and that can erode trust and morale.
For sure. Another crucial leadership lesson from the Hagakure is this emphasis on mentorship.
Okay.
Jerchi repeatedly stresses the importance of, experienced samurai guiding and teaching the younger generation.
It's about passing on that torch, right?
Yeah.
Ensuring that the knowledge and traditions are carried forward.
Mm-hmm. But it's also more than just teaching skills, isn't it?
Right, right,
The Hagakure emphasizes shaping character, instilling values,
right.
and helping the younger samurai develop into not just competent warriors, but virtuous human beings.
So how can we apply this in a modern work setting? I mean, we have mentorship programs
Right.
and leadership training, but it feels like it needs to be more than just this formal structure.
Yeah, it's about taking a genuine interest in the growth of your team members,
Right.
recognizing their potential, and creating this culture of learning and support,
Hmm.
being willing to share your own experiences, both successes and failures,
Right.
and helping others learn from your journey.
And sometimes it's about just being present,
Yes,
listening attentively,
absolutely.
and offering guidance without judgment.
Now, here's one final leadership insight from the Hagakure that might surprise you:
Okay.
the importance of embracing criticism.
Really?
Jetchi actually encourages samurai to actively seek out opinions that challenge their own.
That's unexpected. I thought samurai were all about honor
hmm
and, not backing down from a challenge.
It might seem counterintuitive, but Jetcha understood that a good leader needs to be open to different perspectives.
Yeah.
You can't be so attached to your own ego or your own ideas that you refuse to learn from others.
So how does a leader create a culture where it's okay to disagree?
Right.
To offer constructive criticism without it turning into this battle of egos.
It starts with humility.
Okay.
A leader who acknowledges that they don't have all the answers,
Right.
who's willing to admit mistakes,
Yeah.
and who values the input of their team is more likely to create a space where open communication can flourish.
It's about fostering an environment where people feel safe to speak up,
Yeah.
share their ideas, and challenge the status quo, knowing that their voices will be heard and respected.
And sometimes those dissenting voices, the ones who dare to question or push back,
Right.
they offer the most valuable insights.
Yeah.
They can help us see things from a different angle, identify potential blind spots, and ultimately make better decisions.
So what we're seeing here is that this ancient text on samurai wisdom, the Hagakure,
Mm-hmm.
offers surprisingly relevant insights for leaders in the 21st century.
Absolutely. It's a call to lead by example, to mentor and develop others, and to stay open to new ideas and critical feedback.
Right.
And maybe, just maybe, a little bit of that samurai spirit of courage, discipline, and honor can help us navigate the complexities of our modern world.
And with that, our deep dive into the Hagakure comes to an end. We've explored some really powerful ideas, but the real journey begins when we start to apply these principles in our own lives.
So as you go forward, think about what resonated most with you from the Hagakure. Which samurai principle could guide your leadership, your decision-making, or even your approach to life's challenges? Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.